Welcome back to Reliving Retro. This is Season 4, Episode 5, and we are joined by some very special guests. Guys, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yo, what's up, guys? I'm Jared. How's it going?
And I'm Kai.
And you guys are from the Play Along podcast.
Yes, we are.
Yep.
Where can they find you guys?
You can find us anywhere you find podcasts. Honestly, if you just Google Play Along Podcast, I think the first thing that comes up is either an Apple podcast or a Spotify now. So if you just Google that, you'll be able to find us.
Sick.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so this week we played Quest 64 on the N64. Now, I don't know if that's its official name. I think it might just... Or I'm sorry, I said Quest, but it's Quake.
I was like,
Quake.
oh, damn, I played the wrong game.
No. It's actually listed right here as a recommendation, so I just read it off of my list for some reason. No, we played Quake 64. I'd say thankfully, because I think Quest 64 is probably worse.
Oh, really?
We'll get into
It's
it.
the best RPG on the N64.
Is it?
The only one.
Well, Paper Mario, right?
That's true. Paper Mario's right there. Yeah. Paper Mario's significantly better than Quest.
All right, but before we get into that, we're going to talk about our guests here. So let's start off with Jared. What was your introduction to gaming? Maybe how old were you when you got your first console? What was it? That kind of thing.
Oh, man, my introduction to gaming, the first game that I ever played, and I was probably around 5 or 6, was Super Mario World. Super Mario World, Donkey Kong, I played them both at the exact same time. I had a buddy that had a Super Nintendo. This was before I had any kind of gaming console. And that was kind of like, besides like little arcade stuff, because by the time I was growing up and hitting games, arcades were out, little things in laundromats. I played a little bit of Metal Slug, but that was kind of the first console experience that I had. And then the first console I owned was the Nintendo 64, and it was Ocarina of Time. I mean, like a lot of people, that was kind of my first foray into gaming, where this felt more of a thing that wasn't just something fun to do. It could have like a story and a narrative, and gaming could be experienced with friends and everything. But yeah, that was my first.
Awesome.
It's a good start.
And what about you, Kai?
You always remember your first.
I remember my first. We're related, so I've known him forever.
You're in our entire lives? Yes.
Yeah, literally forever. So whenever he got his Nintendo 64, I also vicariously lived through his Nintendo 64 and was like, oh, this is cool. I think my first like actual console for myself was probably we got Game Boys when we were like 7.
Oh yeah.
I think when
Oh, nice.
and that was probably the first like time that we both had something we could play together, which was Pokemon. And then
So
when I was
much Pokemon Emerald.
8, I got a PS2, and the same year he got a GameCube.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so that was probably next up. But yeah, kind of that generation early on of the PS2 generation, and then like Game Boy Advance SP and those consoles.
Now,
cool.
so it's interesting. So did you, as kids, did you prefer the PS2 or the GameCube more?
Oh man.
Ooh,
I've sold my soul to
definitely prefer the
Nintendo.
PS2.
So I'm obligated to say GameCube, but
Still to this day.
still to this day. It was when I bought the GameCube that my soul was sold. No, that's hard. I have a lot of nostalgia of Kai and I playing some really fun PS2 games, like all the old like Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter and Guitar Hero, like playing Guitar Hero for the first time on the PS2, and so such like impact on me. But then Super Smash Brothers, Melee, Wind Waker, Mario Kart, Double Dash. Like I have such fond memories with those GameCube games. And I think that like even to this day, I still have those attachments to it. So I would probably have to lean GameCube.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was just wondering because I grew up more in the age of Genesis versus Super Nintendo. So I was wondering if there was that like
a rivalry kind of situation.
Yeah, because by the time I got to that era of gaming, I had like I owned an Xbox, a PS2, and a GameCube. So I wasn't like preferring one over the other. I just had all of them, and I played all of them. I probably played my Xbox the least, to be but
I played a lot.
I remember the conversation. So my dad was the one who bought his GameCube.
Yeah.
And it was like a couple months before I had gotten the PS2. And we went to Best Buy together, or I think it was Circuit City, which still existed at that time.
Circuit City.
And he was like, okay, I need to get Jared a birthday present. Which console should I get him? Because there's GameCubes and PS2s and an Xbox. And I selfishly said GameCube because I already had a PS2. So I was like, you should get him the GameCube so that I can also just play his console. And then
hey, it worked out for the both of us because I got to play PS2 games on yours.
I caused a monster, but also selfishly it worked.
You did this to me. You created this demon. So really, you're the fault here. But we had the best of both worlds. I played your PS2 and all those games, and we played a lot of GameCube stuff together. We had both.
To be fair, you did that at 8 years old?
Yes.
And I did that last week when I had my daughter pick out my niece's birthday present, and she said, "Oh, let's get her what was it? Mario Kart 8 or something like that for the Switch, so we both have the game." And I'm like, "Well, since you both have it, you might as well get something for her that you don't have."
Yeah.
That way when you go there, you can play a game that you don't normally get to play, and then when she comes over here, she can play a game that she doesn't normally get to play. So she ended up going with
in the children.
Yeah, so she ended up going with Mario Strikers. For the
nice,
Switch,
cool.
Which I haven't played yet. I hope it's good.
I still haven't played. I loved the GameCube one, but I haven't played the Switch one yet.
Same.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Favorite types of games to play. So, like your favorite genres. Kai, you can start.
Farming sims, pretty much any like scientific futuristic farming sim in the vein of like Astroneer or No Man's Sky or
you're a hoe
of
for
those
those farming sims.
I love building little worlds and like really intricate systems of building like with different minerals and elements. That shit just is perfect for me.
Nice.
I think that like speaking for myself, I think that's too complicated for me. I need a more streamlined sim.
Fucking tell me about it.
You
played through Astroneer? That game is so complicated. I'm like, how do you you hate like JRPGs and that thing, but you can like comprehend these weird
it's like Legos. It's like, I can put the things together and then I can make little engines and it's fun. It's a fun time for me. I understand it's not for everyone. Trust me, I'm not forcing this fucker to play them anymore.
I've tried some and I liked some. I liked Stardew and I love No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is absolutely fantastic. So there's some good ones out there for sure.
I was gonna say, as far as like sim games go, I've played The Sims. I've played like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Zoo Tycoon, like the Tycoon games. Like I can play those, but that's usually as far as I've ever ventured into the sim games.
I mean, hey, those are good.
SimCity was one I always wanted to learn how to play, but I'm like, I can't figure out how to.
That's so much management system. I'm just like, I don't know
how to do the plumbing and like the electrical. Like, I don't know. I don't get it, dude. And then so I just do a pre-built city and have Bowser destroy the whole thing, and then the game's over.
That just sounds like a good time, honestly.
Yeah, right.
It's all right.
Yeah.
What about you, Jared? What are your favorite types of games to play?
Oh, I'm the RPG, JRPG man over here. I love like a complicated RPG system.
Character customization, fucking menu systems.
Menus, crafting systems. If you have like job systems you can do for me, like I'm all about that shit, which is interesting because us growing up playing games together, we enjoyed very different kinds of games.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. But yeah, I love games like that. Big open world games. I love to explore.
I was going to say, based on the genres that you guys like, it doesn't seem like you guys like playing games together.
We actually love playing games together.
Yeah. I mean, I rarely ever played games really growing up.
Right.
I watched.
Yeah.
So
he was the
I
watcher.
would literally watch him play games for like 5 hours straight and never want to play. I sucked, so it was an easy like cop out of being like, nah, I'll just let you play.
Oh my gosh, it was the early IRL Twitch. You just watched me play games in real life.
He was my live-in streamer for a really long time. Hell yeah, this is great.
No, that's cool. No, I was just joking because it seemed like you guys pick out kind of genres that are more than likely one-player games. So you guys have like some modern consoles now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What would you say your favorite modern console is currently? And Kai, you can start.
Okay,
the one I have, the Xbox One S.
Okay.
That's
Nice.
the one I own. I have a PS4, but that's not modern any longer. But yeah, I just have we lived together up until this last year.
Just last year, yeah.
Profited off of all of his consoles as PS5.
And then I'm like, bro, you got to buy your own shit now.
Yeah, I know. Financially ruinous hobby this has become, where I've had to invest in my own video game system.
Yeah,
that'll do it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I had to buy my own console. That's when I stopped owning multiple consoles. That's when I went Xbox 360, and I didn't go the PS3 route. And so the last PlayStation that I've ever owned was a PS2.
Oh wow!
Which seems
you got off
crazy.
on the peak, so
yeah.
I mean, I think so too, but there are other people that may disagree.
Yeah. Oh man,
I love my PS4.
Yeah, I love my PS4 too. I have the only modern one I don't have is the series. So I still have an Xbox One X. I guess would you count the Switch as modern? Nintendo's it's a weird gray area with Nintendo.
Yeah, it's their newest console, so I would say that.
Right. So yeah, between the Switch and the PS5, I'd probably have to go with the Switch just because obviously I love Nintendo. I love Nintendo games, and with this console specifically, there's been so many indie games, so many ports. It's kind of just like, even though the console lacks in a lot of power that the other two consoles have, with its ease of portability and just all the stuff that you can have on there, it's great. But I love the PS5 too. I played Returnal recently, and that game was so much fun.
Awesome. Do you guys have a favorite retro console? And Jared, you can start.
Favorite retro console? I'd have to go. Can we do handhelds? Does handhelds count?
For sure.
Cool. I love the Game Boy Advance. When I just saw when we just got the announcement of Game Boy Advance games and color games coming to the Switch, I was so ecstatic. I love the Game Boy Advance. That specific art style and that era is so like nostalgic. Like when I see that specific pixel art, it just fills me with joy. I love the GBA.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I never had one, but I've already played since that got ported to Switch. I've already played Minish Cap for probably 5 or 6 hours already.
Oh, Minish Cap is so good. And
it's
Superstar Saga
yesterday.
Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga is a really good Mario RPG.
Yeah. We played that for the show a few weeks ago.
Yep.
So good.
It was good.
What about you, Kai?
Does the PS2 count as a like vintage console?
It's 10 plus years at this point. Yeah.
Sure.
Oh,
yeah. PS2.
Definitely.
I mean, yes, that was the thing that got me into actually playing games. Those were some of the first games I like legitimately put time and effort into, and so it will always have a special place in my heart.
Yeah. Whenever somebody asks me the question, I always say that Super Nintendo is my favorite, but I truly believe the PS2 is the best console of all time.
I mean, sales-wise, that backs up that claim. It's the best-selling console still.
Yeah, it's
longevity.
Insane. Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it came out in 2000 or 2001, and it ran until 2014 or something.
We literally just talked about this. We had a bonus episode on our show where we did like a PS2 draft of games, and learning the life cycle for that console is wild. I was like, I didn't even realize it ran that long. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's unbelievable. All right. Before we get into not Quest 64, but Quake 64, just going to drop our Patreon real quick. We have 3 tiers, $2, $5, $10. You can check them out in the link below. And $5 will get Yaiser a Yingling. He needs another one, I think.
Right? I do. I need
he needs a couple more.
Help me out.
And so at any of those tiers, you can submit games that we will play for our Patreon episodes, and that list is much, much shorter. So you will be able to get your game played a lot quicker than our master list. Our master list has like a couple hundred games on it right now.
Oh, damn. That's wild.
Yeah, we got too many games to play. So the Patreon one is a lot shorter. If you want a specific game for us to play, that's where to go. Okay. Quake 64. Let's roundtable this real quick. Kai, have you ever played this game before this week?
Not a fucking chance. No.
Jared, what about you?
Nope. Not a chance.
Yaiser.
No, I have not played.
I also never played this game before this. So here we go. So that's good. No nostalgia glasses, right? Involved from any of the 4 of us here. And how many hours did we play this week, Yaiser?
Maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah, you didn't give it long, huh?
About all I could.
I played for about 3 hours, I'd say. What about you, Jared?
I did like an hour and a half.
Yeah. And Kai?
Probably like 2 hours, 3 hours, somewhere around there.
And Kai, how did you play?
Through an emulator. Yeah.
Cool.
Which about an hour of that playtime was spent figuring out how to make double joystick controls work for this fucking game.
Oh my god, we'll get into controls, but Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
Jared, how did you play?
Similar. I did it on an emulator.
Okay, yeah, and Yaiser emulated, yeah. I emulated a little bit for our stream. The emulator was trashed. I don't know what happened. Everything was flickering on and off. I could see enemies through walls, and
that sounds like a plus.
That's a cheat.
I feel like you're rigging the system
think, but I wasted all my ammo on walls.
Oh no.
Valid.
Yeah, so not always a benefit.
Yeah.
But I do have a modded Xbox, and I played it on there, and it played great on there. So
that's awesome.
where I played it. the most of my time. And I'm assuming with our playtime that none of us beat this game, yeah?
Nope.
Right, okay. All right, well then let's get into story. Yaiser, you want to start us off?
Sure, yeah. So without going into, I downloaded the manual a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Without doing that though, they don't give you anything really at all.
Not really.
And even in the manual, it's some corny shit. It's another another worldly or interdimensional dude who calls himself Quake is coming to fuck up Earth.
Yeah,
Quake guy.
essentially.
Very generic. I'm gonna give it a 2 just for the effort that they put in the book. But
that's kind of it, right?
It's about as high as I'm going.
Yeah, I landed a little bit shorter than you. I landed at a 1.5 because really, if you don't have the manual, there's no story whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing. It's just like, okay, you're in this place, kill these guys. For what reason?
Yeah.
You have no idea, other than maybe they're kind of ugly. I don't know. It doesn't really give you a reason.
Very
Right.
Yeah, so I landed at 1.5 just because this game feels like it should have had somewhat of a story, and it just didn't give us anything. Even like, I even hated the wording of like when you would load into a game, instead of saying like loading, it said building, and I don't know why that irked me.
I was so confused by that.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. For like 30 seconds, I was like, "Is this procedural generation?" I was like, is this like, how advanced was this game?
With those load times, it kind of seemed like
I was like, "Building? What are you building?"
yeah. It just the phrasing kind of irked me a little bit. But Jared, what about you for story?
I also gave it like a 2 because, like we said, there is really no story unless you're going to the manual. But like in my mind, I didn't really need any motivation. Kill aliens attacking me. You killed creatures, and that was really all the motivation I needed. So I was like, okay. I mean, you don't really necessarily need a narrative to enjoy this, so I just gave it a 2.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Kai?
What's the lowest score I can give?
Like, you can give a 0 if you'd like to give a 0.
Okay, so here's and let me justify the 0 because I think it's fair to get a 0. Not only is there no story, but they copied and pasted the no story from Doom, which was fucking the first game they made anyway.
Yep.
But also there was no like consistent world environment that like made sense. It's like half a castle. It's like part of Wolfenstein, and they're like, no, but there's like the ghosts from Ghostbusters, and then there's also like dudes with chainsaws. Like there's just no consistency. They just got in a room and they were like, all right, what's gonna be fucking lit to throw in this game? And they just had like a board behind
everything,
them,
included
and
all.
Everyone was just shouting shit out, and they were like, yeah, okay, yeah, you want like weird samurai guys that are like bloody? Okay, yeah, we can put that in there. It doesn't fucking matter.
It's so funny. I was gonna bring that
0.
up during the visuals, but yeah, you 100% just got a grab bag of enemies here.
Yeah, it really is just a mix match of weird things.
This is great, man. I think this is only the second 0 we've gotten on the show, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
Superman 64 0 and what? Story
That tracks. That tracks.
Oh, aged. Aged, you gave a 0.
Oof, yeah, sounds about right.
Terrible.
So 64 is doing pretty well so far. The only console with a 0, and it's got 2 of them. All right. That being said, let's move over to gameplay. And Kai, you're on kind of a roll here. Why don't you start it off in gameplay?
Yeah, I think it's fun. Like, I'll give it a 4. Yeah. I think it's strong gameplay for what it is, which I will say once I figured out how to actually make it function and play, trying to jump the ledge in the first section, like right when you load into the game, you can jump the ledge. And it's like,
I can't jump
I fucking
the ledge.
can't. Yeah. I've tried. Once I figured out how to make that work, I was like, oh, okay. And then like we played through Doom for an interstitial episode. Podcast. Like, I think it plays better than Doom, and it feels more responsive, and the enemies have more variation. And as like you go through the levels, I like the booby traps. The thing that got me, and there was like one section where there's like a bridge and a giant fucking bullet that launches out, and then you have to go under the bridge and around under. And I was like, all right, okay, I'm having fun.
I see you, Quake.
Yeah.
All right, so 4, not bad. What about you, Jared?
Yeah, I was similar. I wouldn't give it a 4.5. I liked the gameplay once I figured out the controls and I mapped them well. In the context of the N64 controller too, I thought it was cool because I think that the Z button is shoot, which is right on like where your finger is holding, almost like a trigger. So I thought that was like cool and intuitive for the weird Trident controller that they decided to go with. But yeah, like Kai was saying, just being able to jump in this game, which you can't do in Doom, is so cool. Being able to jump, the variety of enemies that you see, trying to avoid booby traps, falling and dying, and wanting to be like, okay, cool. Now I know not to go in there, jump over the hole with the spikes in and everything. I think that the guns felt like they had a good variety to them, and they felt good to play with too. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right, Yaiser.
Okay. You guys are a little nicer than I'm going to be. I thought it controlled awful. So I played with a USB N64 controller.
Oh, so you played with the controller?
Yeah. So I just set up, the way it would have been on an N64. And it was fucking terrible. That first level, that first jump you're talking about, it's like, you can jump here, but it's like, how, bitch? What the hell is the jump button? I don't know.
Isn't it like down on the analog stick or up on the analog stick or something?
It's down.
I mapped mine to A, so A was jump on my controller.
It's the down C button.
That's so weird.
It's so weird. And then strafe is left and right on your C buttons. But like, I hate the way, and all the like N64 shooters are like this. I think strafe is on your C buttons, and like you look around with. I just couldn't get used to it. I tried. I thought maybe it would get better if I kept playing, but it never did. No. And it was hard, but not because the game was hard. I felt like it was only hard because it was hard to control my fucking dude.
Especially when you get into like a room full of people, because I just panic and then all controls just go out the window, and like I'm missing my shots. I'm jumping off ledges.
Same.
Yeah. I'm glad that because I felt I was doing something wrong. I felt like I was not prepared for the emulation and things were going poorly. And so like I put a lot of time to make it work. And I mean, you can I'm assuming the same thing with you, Jared, is like eventually you can get it to where you have one that's camera, one that's movement. Yep. I will say the strafe speed is like twice the speed of the walking forward speed, which is just aggressive when you're trying to turn. It's just wild. Like, okay, can't do that. But yeah, like you have to rig it up to make it even function, which is probably not a great sign.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, eventually I did get a little bit used to the controls, and playing the game, it still wasn't, I don't know, all these terrible looking sprites are just, I don't know. I hated it. I gave it a 2. It was really, it's just not a game for me, guys.
Oh man, I thought you were gonna like it a little more than that.
The other thing I want to call out, I don't know if there's a section I can call this out, but they called something a nail gun when I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be like a rail gun. But it's just like they were like, like a minigun. I've never seen a fully automatic nail gun before that you're supposed to. And then they make you shoot it at a button, like that makes sense, and you're just like,
because you can't just push the button.
Well, why couldn't I use the shotgun? I have many options here. Why did you give me this gun and make me push a button? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Shoot it with the right gun. Okay.
I landed a little bit in between you guys, but more on Yaiser's side. I landed at a 2.5. I felt like this game was super frustrating, and it was a lot of components. It wasn't just like the controls, although the controls were not great. And a lot of times I felt like just the environment, which we'll get to in visuals, was just, it's too dark. I couldn't see what I was doing. Like you said, Jared, when there was a room full of monsters, I just panicked and I just started shooting everything. Exactly. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I just took the nail gun. I'm like, take all the nails, dude. I don't even know why I have these. And it was, I don't know. I didn't have that much fun with it. Like, so I started off and I'm like, oh, this is rough. I'm going to hate this game. And then I got through the first level and I'm like, you know what? That wasn't too bad. Because I think the first level was like just pretty easy. And then you get to the second level and you're playing through the second level and you're like, okay, silver key, whatever. I go find the door for the silver key. And then you get to the third level and then I'm like, what? I hate this now. I hate the third level.
This is awful. I hate that experience. Whoever decided to give the chainsaw guy also a grenade launcher, why? Why did you? Who decided that?
Guy.
Yeah. Who okayed this?
The first level also, the whole point is you're like pressing buttons. Like you have 6 buttons that you have to press. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. This is my thing. I get to press buttons. No, this is the first level. Then it's like, no, there's keys now. And you're just like, okay. More. And then the level just ends. And you're like, oh, okay. I didn't get to press any buttons this time. It's very
I'm disappointed. There's no buttons now.
I'll give them credit for how well they hid the secrets. I only found like 2 secrets in the 4.
Yeah, every time the level ended, it was like 0 out of 10 secrets. I was like, where? I haven't really explored this level.
What was the secrets?
Although there was one I ran into that was like, you discovered this. I was just walking around. It was like, didn't seem very secret.
Some of them are just like ledges that you can get up onto, and it was like secret unlocked, and it's like just little sections of the map that are a little bit difficult to get to is a quote unquote secret.
Yeah, I think there's one in the second level where you can get up to get like a better armor or something like that, and I think that's considered a secret.
Right.
It's like the gold armor.
Yeah. That was my favorite part of the game, by the way, when I got that gold armor, because I'm like, sick, dude. Like, there's no way these monsters are killing me now. And then
due to the room full of zombies in your health
Very wrong.
goes down because you can't hit it.
Well, the grenade launcher guy is kind of overkill, right? Like, because if he hits you once, that's like half your health.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I kind of hated about this game is you can't pick up health packs and use them. You just have to go find the ones that you couldn't pick up when you had 100 health.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super annoying.
Yeah. My problem too is when I eventually got the rocket launcher is like shooting just like on the edge of walls and blowing myself up because I guess too close to a wall.
I killed myself more with the rocket launcher than I killed other things with the rocket launcher.
I did find the wording. I forget exactly what it said, but when you kill yourself, whatever came up on the screen, I thought that was pretty funny. I forget what it said though.
Yeah,
like you got bored. You got bored with life or something like that.
Did it say that?
Yeah, it said something crazy when you kill yourself.
I just remember sitting there and I'm looking at the monster's feet for a half hour, and I'm like, how do I move this? And then you just have to press another button.
Yeah, press another button. It's like
I
Same
thought it
thing
would
at the
just
end of levels. I thought it was just gonna load in, and it'll just let you sit on that fucking screen with your score for an hour.
Forever. Yeah, it's wild. All right. If anybody has anything else to add to gameplay. No? Okay.
No.
Let's move on to visuals. And Jared, why don't you start with visuals?
Oh man, this game is interesting looking. like I was saying, it isn't really consistent in its like environments or themes. Like you'll be in a castle, and then you'll be in like a hell dungeon, and there'll be blood, and the enemies will be weird ninjas with blood all over them, and then like we said, big chainsaw guys with rocket launchers. And ghosts, like it never felt consistent. Sorry, my cat is screaming. It never did. And even comparing this to like other N64 games, I feel like this one like didn't look very good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna give it 2.5 for the visuals.
Okay. I think that's fair. Yaiser?
Yeah.
I again thought it looked pretty bad, dude. Like there was no detail on like just like the regular like zombie dudes that kept coming back to life. There was zero detail and like it was just like a silhouette with this weird like blood and maybe flesh texture on it, but there was no detail of like a face or like hands or anything. I don't know, it just looked terrible. The environments and the levels, it was all just everything just looked the same. The water, it was black and white. It looked fucking terrible too. Like what the fuck? I thought it was like gonna get electrocuted if I went into like, but no, it's just water, I guess.
Yeah, you can swim. I didn't realize that was a whole thing you could do. I was like, oh, you can swim. You can go underwater.
There's
underwater.
I learned
you can
that
also
lesson.
you can also
You can
drown.
go underwater? Shit, I didn't know you could go under.
Yeah, you can go underwater. If you just stop holding kind of like the jump button, I think you start to descend. And there's actually some secrets. There's like secret rooms you can go and find like weapons and armor and things.
I avoided water at all costs. I just assume it would kill me.
No, you can swim.
Well, I'm gonna land at another 2 here. It really just didn't do it for me. It's pretty bad.
I get it. Kai?
What is the criteria we're basing this on? Is this like of the time, or am I like visually?
I mean,
like Horizon and then Quake, and I have to come up with the score.
So generally, I guess I would say, visuals for me are in comparison to other games of that time or
Similar
other
era.
games on that console. And then when we get to aged, that's kind of how we reflect on it now.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's just how I do it. You can do it however you want. If you want to give it a 0 because it looks terrible in comparison to Horizon, then I get it.
I mean, I'm really at this point, I've learned that there's not that many zeros, and I feel like I could make my
just
mark
give it
here
all
just by
zeros.
giving
You
zeros.
could, dude. You could.
No, I think this is a port. First of all, it came out in '96.
Yeah.
Like, I think probably I imagine this was at the time like, oh my god, like Variety was the thing because Doom kind of looks samey, and so they were like, what if we do Doom, but like there's a bunch of shit going on, like it doesn't make any sense, and people are like, yeah, that's fucking lit. So yeah, like, I don't know, like 2.5 seems fair.
Yeah,
I don't think it's fair to compare it to like Ocarina of Time because it's like 2 years later and isn't a port. and is like actually developed for the 64.
That's fair. Yeah, I can see that.
So it's fine. It looks as good or better than its predecessor, which is Doom, and I didn't really have any of the problems with like the brightness, and maybe that's just, there's a lot of variability in running ROMs and depending on what you're using in your monitors. But yeah, like I never thought like, oh, I couldn't see anything. Yeah, the characters are pretty polygonal, but like, I don't know, like part of me is against the diversity of how many characters in this game, in the sense of like there's no cohesion, but the other part of me is like kind of impressed that there's so many different
there is so much diversity.
Like they just really went for like everything they could, which I'm like, okay, yeah, good for you.
How did you guys feel about like the gore? Something I noticed in this that wasn't in Doom is like when you kill some of these enemies, they'll explode. I mean, like we said, polygonal little chunks, but they will explode into pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that looked okay. You know what I mean? Like, I thought it looked fine. I mean, I guess I'll get into my score. I also gave it a 2.5, so we're kind of all in that same range there. This game, like, just looking at it, I experienced like the darkness a lot. I don't know if it was just because of the emulator that is on my Xbox. I don't know if it was just darker because of that, or my TV, or whatever the case may have been. As soon as I got to level 3, I couldn't see a thing. Like I would go into a room and I'm just seeing like things kind of moving back and forth.
Weird.
And for what it's worth, I had to change the settings to almost everything to make this game feel comfortable. Especially the sensitivity, which is kind of about gameplay, but I forgot to mention that. Sensitivity, I had to like half because it was way too fast for me to control.
I will say though, having an entire way to remap a controller built into an N64 cartridge and sensitivity is like, slow clap for them, because they definitely didn't have to do that. It was not an expectation.
Yeah,
they knew they were going to need it.
Well, yeah, they're like, this game.
They were like,
well, yeah, they're like, this was a PC game, and now we're porting it to this weird controller. We're gonna have to, we're gonna have to mess things around because people
also,
are
why is the default sensitivity all the way up?
I don't think that's what I mean.
In the middle.
I don't get that.
Why would
and also,
that be the thing you're
PC gamers, bro,
Yeah,
also,
man.
default is to not have the cursor on the screen either, which I thought, or like crosshairs on the screen
That
either,
was
which I thought was
wild.
weird.
I didn't.
You could put it on.
You can add the crosshair back in. Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, remember when we played
Damn.
Turok Yaiser and we had to put the map up to act as a crosshair
Yeah.
because it doesn't have one?
Man,
That's wild.
There was also a setting that was like always run, but when I turned it off, there was
You
no
were
button to
still
run.
running.
So I was like,
You were just doing the same speed.
I don't know what this means. I don't know what this setting does. I couldn't figure it out. I was
That's
like,
funny. I didn't try a lot of those because I was just like, yeah, always run, whatever, fine. There's
Hey,
monsters.
that works.
always
for me.
running.
I think I would have run too.
I didn't look at the settings at all.
That's like my first.
That's why your
I go into a
controls were
game.
shit, my friend.
Every time I go into a game, I'm like, what settings can I like mess with? Like, what are they doing? Like, I always look at the settings.
Yeah, he's horny for menus, and even if it's just games.
Exactly. Not a JRPG. I'll make it. Don't worry. I'll find menus.
I'm gonna make my own character through adjusting sensitivity. Don't worry.
But yeah, like just playing this game, I grew up playing Doom 64, and it just made me want to pop in Doom 64. And just because I felt like that game was like more polished, I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, it's amazing that they made a Quake 2 for the N64, because I thought like after this, I'm like, how'd you decide to do another one of these? That's wild.
You want more of this?
Yeah, right. But anyway, I landed on 2.5 for visuals. I think, I mean, as far as I go, it's my favorite category is coming up next, because I don't know if you can really do better than the sound in this game. I gave the sound a 3.5 because I felt like the music. So the title music I thought was pretty cool. I was actually somewhat into that, and I actually liked a lot of the ambiance. It's not like a ton of like music. Like Doom is like the heavy like metal music and stuff like that for the most part, where this is more just like spooky like sounds and stuff like that. Enemies and weapons I thought sounded pretty good for what it was supposed to be. It did what it needed to do pretty well. So like I said, I gave it a 3.5 for sound, and that was by far the best category for this game for me.
Yeah.
So Jared, what about you?
I actually really love the direction they took the music, so I want to give it a 4. I think it is an interesting take to go, more ambient with your music, especially with a game that looks so similar and plays so similar to things like Doom, like you said, are very heavy into their music and very heavy into the action. Just because this game was lacking of that, it never felt like there was no action. There's almost like this level of suspense that was always there. I don't know if this is just me grasping at straws, but I got Jesus, the Forest Temple from Ocarina of Time, like that kind of like very ambient, creepy, subtle tones to it. And I was like, this is cool. I like it. And with that, it almost like increased the enemies. Like they're like snarls, and like I spawn into a level and I just hear like these gurgling noises, and I'm like, okay, some shit's around here and I don't know where it is. So I got to figure out where that is and everything. So I almost think the ambient music helped, build up and improve some of the enemy noises and make them feel more like intimidating too. So I actually really enjoyed the sound design of the game.
Yeah, like I said, I thought it was by far the best part of the game. What about you, Kai?
Hands down.
I'm gonna give it a 5.
Oh
shit!
There it is.
Yeah.
My man's gave it a 0 and a 5. And
Yeah.
Going both spectrums.
One episode, going both spectrums. Trent
Love
Reznor, the lead singer of Nine Inch Nails, was the one who composed the music for this game, which alone I think is just fucking sick.
Yeah,
that,
that is cool
at
as hell.
this time period, they were like, he was a fan of Doom when Doom came out, and then he offered to do the music, and they were like,
That's so
yeah,
cool.
let's
They're
fucking
like,
do
yes,
music.
please.
And that's just sick. Like, that's so cool that he was like, sure. Also, there's like, I don't know what song it was in this game. There's like a song that sounds like every 90s and early 2000s like spy movie intro, and I was vibing. I was like, I would listen to this outside of this game. And then the noises are fucking creepy. The monsters are scary as shit, and the gun sounds are satisfying. Like, I have no complaints. And I mean, playing games from this generation, like we played Intelligent Cube, which is like a similar generation
wild,
game, and
wild
that, like,
score.
grating, repetitive, just aggressive music that just makes me want to, jump off a cliff. And like, I didn't feel like that at all in the 2.5 hours I played this. So,
it was welcome
that's a
with
win.
like games of this era having such wild soundtracks. This one felt more, subtle. It was more background noise than anything else.
So I knew that he did the music for the PC version. I wasn't sure if that was the same music that was in this one or not, or if they dumbed this one down because it was the N64.
Who knows? If I'm wrong, whoever did the N64 version, your music slaps.
It was still good. It was still
Good.
All right, Yaiser.
So I don't know. I didn't even. Was there music in the levels?
Yeah,
You guys are talking about this.
it's like background. It's like ambient
There was
noises.
music.
Yeah, you gotta play these with headphones on, buddy.
I did.
Did you?
You watched me play it for like 40 minutes.
Yeah, I guess.
I will say
I don't know,
that
dude.
one of the ROMs I downloaded did have a warning at the beginning that was like, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember what it fucking said, but pretty much was like, you have no music in this version. It won't load the music file.
Oh, weird.
And I just pressed through it. And that version I had only had sound effects. It didn't actually have any music. And so then I re-downloaded another version and then played it in a different emulator, which worked. So
Dude,
it's very
I
possible you only had ambient noise throughout the entire
I had menu music and like when I died music, and there was, I don't think I had music in the
nothing in
levels.
between.
It was just gunshots and like monster noises.
And frustrations.
So
That's
There
crazy.
you go.
unfortunately,
That's
my
wild.
score suffered because of that. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of this, but yeah, I'm at a 2 again with sound.
Look at this, dude. Two's
Is that
across the board. For you so
Yeah.
far.
But like, yeah, so far.
Don't worry.
Don't it gets worse. Yeah, I wish I knew that my ROM was fucked up. That kind of sucks. I like Nine Inch Nails, but here we are. 2 stars.
It seems like this game was just really hard to emulate for some reason.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of people. I mean, just talking to you guys as well, it seemed like you guys had some trouble emulating this one because me and Yaiser definitely went through our fair share of troubles.
And I wonder if it's like with the N64 specifically, because there was a time where Nintendo was just picking anything Nintendo related off of emulation sites, and those became harder to find, and in doing so led to more sketchy versions of those emulations and ROMs. So I wonder if that also has something to do with it.
Yeah. The N64 emulators that are out right now really just they aren't perfect. There's a problem with every single one of them, unfortunately. So it helps to have like the real hardware. It's just more expensive.
It does. I mean, other than not having music, I finally did get the thing running pretty well and smooth. Unless I was trying to stream, and then I had a blank screen. I had to watch myself play through the stream to play. So
Yeah,
had like
that was
a 1
interesting.
second delay. It was so weird. It was the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Do we have anything else we want to add to sound?
Nope.
Yeah, the sound. I wish I could have heard it.
Yeah, I wish I would have had added
Maybe
sound.
it's
to my
great.
game.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's terrible. I'll never know.
You'll never
I
know.
don't know.
To be fair. All right. Let's start with aged now. And Jared, you want to start us off with aged?
Yeah. I'm gonna give this a 3.5. Because I think between my scores, I think there was aspects of Quake 64 that were interesting and done well. Like we said, we just talked about the music. I think even though strange at times, the variety of enemies felt like it was significant for something of this caliber. Like in this era of games and this first-person shooter, I feel like not a lot of games had such variety. Not only in that, but between that and the guns, but with the lackluster visual style and the god-awful controls to literally have to jump through 100 hoops to try to like just function in this game.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of like right in the middle of how this game aged.
Fair. Yaiser, what about you?
So I am pretty low here. I thought it aged pretty poorly. Going back and playing, I mean, not having music, kind of knowing now that the music just wasn't in the
There
game.
could have been something
There could have
ridiculous.
been something else. You could have had a higher score.
It could have been.
You know what's funny too is normally before, because a lot of these games we don't get through, right? We don't beat the entire game because we have to play
Right.
one game a week. So it's hard to dedicate that much time, especially being parents and stuff like that, to
100%.
playing a game all week. So what we do usually is before we record, we usually sit down and listen to the soundtrack together, just because
Yeah.
we didn't do that today. It would have been hilarious to fire that up, and Yaiser was like, "Wait,
What is this? This wasn't in the game.
yeah, I didn't hear any of this.
Yeah.
What level is this? Because I got to like level 10 and I didn't hear anything."
Oh,
No,
man.
that's funny. So what'd you give it, buddy?
So, I mean, music aside, I thought it just was hard to look at. It's hard to play. I feel like if I gave my controller to, I mean, this is usually what you judge it on, but
A
I'm
little
going to
bit.
steal your thunder here. If I gave the controller to my daughter and told her to play, she would have ran around for 2 seconds. And
Just
be like,
that
"What
first
the-
opening level, just like running around in like the opening area.
Yeah, she would have been like, "This is ass. Take this controller back. I'm not playing this." So I gave Aged 1 star.
Okay. It's pretty low, buddy.
Yeah, pretty shitty game if you ask me.
I landed at a 2. I think it certainly has potential, and you could obviously see that it came from a better quality game with the PC version. It definitely seems more dumbed down, and I think the visuals don't help it at all as far as like gameplay goes. This game, more than a lot of others, I think the visuals really affected gameplay for me. It happens a little bit with N64 games, but this one was the worst so far that I've experienced. So yeah, I landed on a 2. And again, I kind of do, what Yaiser just said, because I think it is a good testament to see how a game aged, right? You hand the game to a young child who has only played Switch games her whole life, right? So sometimes I have my daughter try the game and I'm like, what do you think of it? And she's
That's
like,
really interesting perspective.
not good. Yeah, it's not a good. And through the entire show, she's played a few of these games with us. She even played Super Ghouls and Ghosts and gave that one a thumbs up. And that's a super hard game.
Yeah,
Jesus, that's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, she didn't get very far at all, but she understood that it looked good. It was a funny, like it was a fun game, like that kind of thing. This she did not enjoy. So, yeah, I gave it a 2. What about you, Kai?
Well, I mean, that's a great justification. I'm gonna give it a 0, and the reason I'm gonna give it a 0
there you go.
is because it's pointless and unnecessary. And there's nothing worse something can be than is unnecessary. Like the game already existed on better consoles and ran better.
Yeah.
They ported it over. It's pretty much unplayable unless you do some really hardcore finagling with the actual controls. And like Doom exists, which is pretty much the thing this was coming from, and it doesn't really improve on anything that much to make it be like, oh, like Doom is right there. It's right.
Yeah.
You can go play that one.
Yeah.
You play Doom
The
64.
original, in a sense. And like why do this? Why do this to yourself? Why do this to your loved ones? There's no reason. don't. No one ever needs to play Quake 64.
Pretty much what I hear from you is you should just listen to the soundtrack and that's it. Because that's the only one you give a 5.
Sure, exactly. And maybe that's not even the N64 one. We don't even know.
That's true.
That might just be the PC version.
Sounds like I gotta look that shit up. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you have some additional homework after this one, I guess. All right. this episode, we have a DMC drop in. So our good pal DMC is going to come in and he's going to give his thoughts and opinions on Quake 64, which he, for some ungodly reason, beat the game. Played through the entire thing, beat the game. Kudos to you, sir.
He's gonna be
maybe
fucking
it's
robes. He's just like enlightened. He's floating. He's like, you don't understand.
Maybe it's easier on real hardware with a retro fighter N64 controller. Maybe it's easier. I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't get past like the third level, buddy. So here's DMC with his thoughts on the game.
This week we're going to talk about Quake for the Nintendo 64.
Releasing in 1998, almost a full 2 years after it initially came out, Quake made its way to the Nintendo 64. The general plot of the game is pretty basic. You're a soldier tasked with infiltrating and preventing a demonic army from annihilating the human race. At the completion of chapters, you might get some story that's put out into some text, but it's very infrequent and only about 4 or 5 times.
It provides enough for you to feel like you're accomplishing something throughout the game besides just running and gunning. But let's take a look at that gameplay.
The gameplay here is hindered due to the controller and the production of its time. You only have one analog stick here. You had to aim up and down using the R and L buttons and then change your position. And also, due to these limitations, playing above easy was kind of hard on any difficulty I played on. Normal or above, it was basically impossible. There was just not enough time to react with that control scheme. However, I found myself getting used to it near the end and being able to pull off some comfortable combos while running around, strafing, and shooting. But still, if there was more than 2 or 3 enemies on screen, it was getting difficult just because of controls.
Graphically, though, I was pretty impressed with how well the game seemed to run.
To see this running on the Nintendo 64 was pretty impressive, I'm not gonna lie. The maps were large, enemies and environments were in complete 3D, unlike Doom 64, which still used sprite-based enemies. And I thought that the game seemed to run pretty darn well. It maintained a 30 frames per second for the most part, with the occasional slowdown here and there with a lot of action going on screen. However, the palette did seem to be pretty samey. Lots of red, lots of brown, and comparing it to the PC version from what I saw online, it's not completely accurate to that. Also, the lack of lighting effects from the PC version here onto the Nintendo 64 is very evident. There's sections of the hallway that are just so dark that you can't tell where you're going, and if you would have had the nail gun's lights or the rocket's lights, it would have assisted you more when you were fighting. Still, for the system, it's a pretty good looking game.
Now that we've discussed the way it looks, how does it sound?
Gone is the Trent Reznor soundtrack, but it still is an ambient one that is in the spirit of the original one. It's not going to be much, there's not going to be a lot of songs that are catchy or have hooks or anything like that, it's just more of a background. However, I would suggest if you play this game, stand still for just a few seconds and you'll hear some really cool sound effects that kind of build up to the ambience. The enemies and the weapons though sound really good, and the little bouncing of the grenades I thought was really, really satisfying.
Today, though, would I recommend Quake for the Nintendo 64? Probably not, just because there's so many other ways that you can play it that are going to be a better experience. It's very affordable on the PC and extremely accessible. It doesn't take much to run it, and you're going to have a better time overall. However, if you want to look at it from a novel aspect, the Nintendo 64 one might be worth kicking around. Cheers!
All right, so final scores for the game. We have Yaiser came in at the lowest with a 1.8.
Ooh.
And then we have Kai at a 2.3. Then
With a 5, it's still 2.
With those double zeros.
Really testing the ranking system here.
Yeah, it ended up it's around where it should have. So
Yeah, right?
It was good.
And then I came in next at a 2.4. Jared was at a 3. Oh, I'm sorry. DMC was actually at a 2.95, and Jared was the highest on it at a 3.3.
Wow.
There we go.
It's another windbound situation.
Yeah,
Fucking 8s out here like it's nothing.
I just don't know how to review games. That's apparently what I've learned.
No, man. I mean, if you enjoyed certain aspects of it, then that's cool. You know,
Yeah, man,
there were
yeah.
certainly
He's
there
like,
obviously
I
certain
didn't.
aspects
It's
that we
like, I
didn't.
don't know what I'm doing.
In total, between the 5 of us, we landed at a 2.55. So
That feels fair. That feels okay.
I think between the 5 of us, we would say it's a average. It's an average game at best.
Yeah.
And I think that
I would disagree.
3 of the 5 of us would disagree heavily with that. To be fair. But anyways, all right. So this is the time of the show where we randomize what we're going to play next week, and I get to vaguely describe it to you guys and put you on the spot. So,
Oh wait, would we relive the game?
I guess we should ask that.
I mean, Kai kind of already said it.
Yeah. Why don't we go around? Why don't we go around the table here? Jared, would you relive this game? Would you tell somebody who's never played Quake 64 to play this game?
No, there's better options out there. If you're like, man, I'm really curious of what
Quake 64 is and I really want to play it, then like check it out. But there's other options. You can play other things that are play Doom 64, play the original Doom. That one at least feels like cohesive in its gameplay.
Yeah. Kai?
No. No one should ever play this.
Wouldn't put it on your worst of enemies.
Yaiser?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with these guys and don't play the completely pointless game.
Yeah. Again, if you want to play this, there's plenty of Dooms out there that you can go ahead and play. And I'm sure Quake is better for the PC. Hey, Quake 2 might be better for the N64, but I'm willing to bet you should just play Doom.
About the same.
And for what it's worth, DMC said he could only recommend this game if you want a novel experience or are some sort of weird N64 head.
Okay. There you go.
That's pretty much it. All right. Now it's time to randomize what we're playing next week. I told you guys it was the longest thing of all time.
It's a very satisfying sound, though. Like when I listen to the show, I'm like, oh yeah, that sound. That's a great sound.
All right, so here we go. We have a sports game.
Oh fuck.
Well, we're fucked. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Developed by Namco.
Okay.
Published by Nintendo. Released for the Nintendo GameCube in 2005.
Oh man.
Namco and published by Nintendo.
So it's a Nintendo IP.
This is not what it is, but I'm gonna do the Mario 3-on-3 hoops. That's my guess.
Oh, I think that's a DS game, but that game is dope.
Oh, is it? Oh, I thought it was one on the GameCube.
I think there might be a Mario. I know there's like a Disney basketball game on the GameCube.
Maybe I'm getting my Mario basketball games mixed up.
I want it to be Mario Baseball.
It's Mario Superstar Baseball for the Nintendo GameCube.
Oh, shoot. Shiza.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Thank God, because I thought I was going to have to guess.
What was going to be your guess? I'm curious.
Seemed real dumb. Nothing. No, I wasn't going to guess.
Oh, dude, I'm pumped for this.
So we were playing Mario Superstar Baseball for the GameCube. We're going to have a lot of fun with that one. We're going to try and get some gameplay where we play against each other.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Buy it and play it on my GameCube.
You're going to what? You're going to go buy it?
I'm going to go buy it, unless maybe my brother still has it.
Do you have a GameCube?
I was like, what one of those run?
Oh, nice. I think they're like $70.
Ooh.
You still want to buy it?
The game?
The actual game.
Hopefully my brother still has it. I'm going to call him as soon as we're...
Doesn't he live in Indiana?
No, my other brother probably has it.
Okay, gotcha.
GameCube games are so expensive. It's wild.
I'm going to text him.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Yeah, so we will be joined by Andre from the YouTube channel Game Explain to talk about this game. So it has a listed price right now, a complete price of $62.87 on average.
A deal.
Okay.
A deal.
Maybe I won't buy it.
Yeah, maybe you won't.
You want to play full MSRP for a Mario baseball game?
Yeah, you don't want to?
No,
It's probably
'cause
worth
I
it.
already
It's good.
had it somewhere, and I know it was at my brother's house before my other brother moved to Indiana.
All right. Well, before we let you guys go, we always like to get a recommendation to our master list from our guests. Jared, if you want to go first, anything pre-PS3, Wii, and Xbox 360 era.
Okay, so this is going to be another GameCube game, the
Cool.
platformer called Scalar.
Oh,
Scalar?
Scalar, Scaler.
I've never heard of it. Interesting.
It's pretty much Walmart Spyro,
Yeah,
but
it's
in like a
you're
3D
lucky that you
platformer.
have it.
oh.
But okay.
Yeah, if you look at pictures of this guy, it's a strange game. It's like a teenage boy gets turned into a lizard and he has to like fight lizard people. It's weird, but I played it a lot as a kid.
That sounds awesome, honestly. All right. What about you, Kai?
I'm assuming that you can have duplicates, right? It doesn't matter.
Scalar.
I don't have to know. The game that I want is Scalar. No, Project 8 for the PS2.
Nice.
Oh,
Tony Hawk's Project 8.
Oh.
As two little California skater boys growing up,
Hell yeah.
that was our fucking shit. So there you go.
awesome. Yeah, we don't have that one on the list, so that's
Was
cool.
Scalar on the list?
I can confidently say it is not.
Okay, that's good.
But that's cool though. I love it when because some people can come on and just be like, have you guys played Mario 3? Like,
I didn't want to be like Super Mario
Ocarina of
Sunshine
Time.
or Ocarina of Time. I was like, I'm gonna throw something weird out there.
Yeah, no.
Luckily, you'll play.
Luckily, most people that have come on have given us like something completely out of the ordinary, which is
That's good.
Much appreciated. Because when we started the show, we had a bunch of the ones that were obvious that we had on our list. But all right. So one last time, where can they find you guys?
Yep. So if you go on to Play Along Pod, if you just Google that, you'll find our link tree. There is our Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Anchor, Spotify. All that's just listed in our link tree. So go check it out.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and for everyone out there, let us know what you thought of Quake 64 in the comments. And if you have any suggestions for any other games, leave them in the comments below. And also let us know what you think of Mario Superstar Baseball, because we'll be playing that one next week.
It's really good.
So good.
Almost
Five
as good
across
as
the
Quake
board,
64.
All right, guys. Take care.
Peace.
Bye.